William's heart raced. It all started to come together. The parties, the threats, the blackmail. Owen had been behind it all, manipulating the players from the shadows, and now they were all caught in his web. But as William looked closer, the threads of this intricate tapestry began to shift. It wasn't just Owen. Something much bigger was at play. William. Emily's voice pierced through the tension in the room, and he turned to find her staring wide-eyed at Owen, then back at him. "We need to leave now." Before he could respond, Owen's expression darkened and he stepped back, raising his hands defensively. "I'm not your enemy here," he insisted. "You don't know what you're dealing with." "Then tell us," William shot back, adrenaline surging. "What is this all really about?" Owen hesitated, his bravado slipping. "You think I'm the mastermind? You think I'm the one pulling the strings? I'm just a pawn like you." He glanced at Emily, then back to William, desperation creeping into his voice. "This is bigger than just us. There's a whole network involved. Professors, faculty members, board members, people who can ruin lives without a second thought." "What do you mean?" Emily pressed, taking a step forward. "Those sex parties, they're not just for fun," Owen said, his eyes darting around, as if he were afraid of being overheard. "They're a way to control power, leverage secrets against each other. The people who attend, they're all entangled in a web of favors, obligations, and blackmail. I was just a part of it, trying to survive. But some of those who run it, they're untouchable." William exchanged a glance with Emily, the pieces slowly falling into place. "Who else is involved? What do you know?" "It's not just the professors," Owen continued, his voice low and urgent. "It's the board members too. They've been keeping tabs on everyone, ensuring everyone plays their part. And you, William, you're a threat to that balance. If you dig too deep, they'll make sure you regret it." Suddenly, William felt a wave of nausea wash over him. Could Professor Winters be part of this network? Had he misjudged her? Before he could voice his concern, Emily stepped closer to Owen, her expression softening. "You're scared, aren't you?" she said, almost tenderly. "You're scared of what will happen if this all comes crashing down." Owen nodded, his bravado crumbling. "You have no idea what they'll do to anyone who tries to expose them. But I didn't want to get caught up in all this." As William processed Owen's words, he suddenly felt a shift in the air. He had always seen Emily as his anchor, the one person who understood him. But now, he felt a distance forming between them, as if she was holding back a crucial part of the truth. "Emily," he asked cautiously, "what do you know about this? Are you involved?" The silence stretched out painfully. Emily's eyes flickered, a mix of fear and defiance crossing her face. "I was helping you, William. I thought we could expose this together. But I didn't know how deep it went until I found out about the money laundering." "What do you mean?" he pressed, panic rising in his throat. She took a deep breath, looking down for a moment before meeting his gaze. "I found connections between the board members and the parties. They use the parties as a front, a way to launder money through donations to the school. If we go public, they'll lose everything. But they'll also do whatever it takes to silence us." William felt the weight of her words settle over him like a thick fog. Suddenly, it wasn't just about his feelings for Kevin or the secret life of the college president. It was about something much darker, betrayal at every turn, the underbelly of an institution he once revered. Just then, the door swung open again, and in walked Professor Winters, her demeanor calm. Yet there was an intensity in her eyes that suggested she was ready for anything. "What's going on here?" she asked, her gaze flitting between the three of them. William opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Emily rushed forward. "Owen is saying there's more to this than we thought. He thinks you're involved in something illegal." Winters raised an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. "You're right about one thing, Emily. There's always more to the story. But what Owen has been telling you isn't the whole truth. What do you mean? William asked, feeling a knot form in his stomach. Winters stepped into the room, her posture confident. The parties were meant to distract from the real issues: misappropriation of funds, embezzlement. They've been feeding off the chaos. Owen is not the mastermind. He's a mere piece in a much larger game. And you, William, you've stumbled into something that could change everything. As the pieces shifted in his mind, William felt the ground beneath him trembling. And what about Kevin? What role does he play in all of this? A faint smile crept onto Winter's lips. Kevin has been trying to navigate these waters, but even he didn't know the extent of the manipulation. We're all being played. The only way to expose this is to dig deeper. Just then, the tension snapped. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke. And what if we can't? What if they come after us? Winters turned to her, her tone serious. They might. But if you don't take action, you'll become another pawn in their game. The choice is yours. We can work together, or we can all go down alone. A moment of silence hung heavy in the air as they considered her words. William felt a mix of determination and dread. The stakes were higher than he had ever imagined. I'm in, he said finally, his voice steady. But we need a plan, and we need to be smart about this. Owen nodded, a flicker of relief in his eyes. If we work together, maybe we can turn this around. But we have to act fast. As they began to discuss their strategy, William felt a new sense of purpose emerging from the chaos. He was no longer just a pawn. He was a player, ready to take control of his own narrative and uncover the truth that lay buried beneath layers of deception. But deep down, he knew the fight was only beginning. And the real threat was still lurking in the shadows. The air in the room had become stifling, the tension thick as they realized just how tangled the web had grown. As William, Emily, Owen, and Professor Winters huddled together, the plan they were formulating felt both fragile and dangerous. But William couldn't shake the feeling that there was still something missing, some piece that hadn't clicked into place yet. Emily shifted uncomfortably beside him, her hands fidgeting. We need more evidence, she muttered, almost to herself. If we can link the funds directly to the board members, we can blow this wide open. William nodded in agreement, but noticed something off about Emily. She had been jittery since they confronted Owen. Her usual sharp focus seemed fractured, like she was carrying a weight heavier than just fear of exposure. What's wrong, Emily? William asked quietly, watching her closely. Her eyes flicked up to meet his, and for a moment, he saw a flicker of guilt. It's nothing. I'm just overwhelmed. Before William could press further, Winters cut in. We need to act now. I have access to the financial records, and if we move quickly, we can compile the evidence before they even realize what's happening. But something didn't sit right with William. He'd known Emily for years, trusted her implicitly. But why was she acting so out of character? He shot a glance at Owen, who was still sitting nervously in the corner. Owen, do you know something about this that you're not telling us? Owen looked up, his face pale, beads of sweat forming at his temple. I told you everything I know. At least everything that's important. Suddenly, a thought struck William. The parties, the blackmail, the power dynamics. It wasn't just about money. It was control. Control over the players, the faculty, and now him. His gaze snapped back to Emily. Emily, William said slowly, how did you even know about the money laundering in the first place? She froze for a moment, then quickly recovered. I overheard a conversation in the dean's office. I was following a lead for our story. You know that. But William wasn't buying it anymore. No, you didn't. You've been too close to this from the beginning. Too eager to push me into investigating the parties. You knew too much. And now you're acting weird when we're finally putting everything together. Emily's expression hardened, and for the first time, William saw something cold flicker in her eyes. William, don't be ridiculous. We're in this together. Winter's eyes narrowed as she watched the exchange, but she remained silent, her gaze flickering between William and Emily. William stepped forward, his voice low but intense. Emily, if you're hiding something, now's the time to come clean. A tense silence filled the room, and then, with a heavy sigh, Emily dropped her facade. All right, fine. I wasn't just helping you out of the goodness of my heart. Her tone was sharper now, her eyes colder. You were getting too close to something bigger than just the sex parties, and I had to keep you under control. Owen looked stunned. Emily, you're involved in this? William's stomach dropped. Why, Emily? Why are you doing this? She shrugged, her expression unfeeling. I was promised a lot of things, William. Things you can't imagine. They offered me a spot on the board after graduation. All I had to do was keep tabs on you and make sure you didn't dig too deep. William felt betrayed, the depth of the manipulation hitting him hard. His best friend, the person he had trusted, had been playing him all along. You were going to let me expose everything while they used me as a pawn? His voice trembled with anger. Emily's lips curled into a bitter smile. You were always so idealistic, William. So convinced you could change the world, but that's not how things work. People like us, we don't get ahead by playing nice. You've seen the kind of power these people have. They would have buried you without a second thought if I hadn't intervened. Winter's voice broke the silence. Emily, you've made a grave mistake. She looked at William, her eyes full of regret. I didn't know she was involved, but we can still fix this. We still have the evidence. William's mind was racing. Emily's betrayal had hit him hard, but there was no time for self-pity. We need to act now, or they'll destroy us. Suddenly, the door to the room burst open. Kevin Martin stood in the doorway, his face ashen, sweat glistening on his brow. We have a problem. William's heart sank. What now? Kevin swallowed hard, glancing nervously at Winters and Emily. The board knows what's happening. They've already started covering their tracks. The financial records, gone. The parties, scrubbed clean. Then we're too late. William asked. Not entirely. Kevin's voice was shaky but determined. There's one more party tonight. A final blowout. Everyone who's involved will be there, including the board members. William's pulse quickened. That's it. That's our last shot. Emily folded her arms, her defiance returning. You're crazy if you think you can take them down. Winters locked eyes with William. Are you ready for this? Could get ugly. William nodded, the fire of determination flaring up inside him again. Let's do it. He turned to Kevin, his eyes smoldering with desire. We have to hurry, but I need you first. Kevin's breath caught in his throat as William pulled him into a passionate kiss. The final party was lavish, held in a secluded mansion just outside campus. As William and his allies infiltrated the gathering, they saw the full extent of the corruption. Board members, professors, faculty members, all mingling freely, oblivious to the storm about to hit. Kevin, Winters, Owen, and William spread out, planting hidden cameras and gathering as much evidence as they could. The tension in the air was palpable. Finally, William spotted Emily, standing near the center of the room, talking to one of the board members, a smug, older man with too much power and too little morality. William approached her slowly, his voice cutting through the noise. It's over, Emily. She turned, her eyes flashing with a mix of anger and fear. You're not going to win this, William. He took a deep breath, standing tall. Maybe not, but I'm going to try. Just then, a loud crack echoed through the room. The door slammed open, and a squad of FBI agents swarmed in. Owen had kept his promise after all, leveraging his undercover role to bring them in at just the right moment. Chaos erupted as people scrambled, some trying to escape, others frozen in shock. William locked eyes with Emily one last time before she was cuffed and led away. In the aftermath, the scandal broke wide open. The embezzlement, the sex parties, the blackmail. It was all exposed in a series of damning articles written by William. Kevin Martin resigned in disgrace, but thanked William privately for giving him a chance to escape before it was too late. As for William, his life had changed forever. The betrayal still stung, but he had come out stronger. His graduation speech was about integrity, but it was also about surviving the darkest depths of corruption and coming out the other side with your soul intact. The fight had been ugly, but in the end, William had won.